What is up, everybody? This is Mirouku, one half of the Outer Rim CCG group. Today we're going to be working on and looking at one of the new leaders in the set that I know several of you guys have been a little hesitant about and a little not very impressed with him. And it is Kit Fisto. Before we get started though, I want to let everyone know that we do have an open Discord that you guys are more than welcome to sign up for. I'll drop a link down below so that you guys can join. Come play test, come enjoy some good company, and maybe some good practice all up until the Galactics. With that being said, if you like the content, like, share, subscribe, follow our Patreon. Or if you have any card needs, we do have a TCG player link, and I'll drop that down below as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on Kit Fisto. Kit Fisto is one of the new leaders, Force Jedi Republic. Its action is use one resource, exhaust it. If you attacked with a Jedi, deal 2 damage to a unit. The flip side of him, he is a 1/6 Saboteur, and he gets a +1 attack for every friendly Jedi unit on the field. And he flips on 5. So the stat line is pretty bad off the start. I mean, it is like Sabine, where it's still 7 points of stats, but it's for 1 more than Sabine is. And I know you guys are probably thinking, why are you talking about a leader when you haven't said too many good things about him? The reason for it is because he's actually surprisingly really good. And the reason for it is because of the support that has been given. And we are still early on in the spoilers, so there may even be more to come. But let's take a look at the kit that he has that makes it to where he's actually really good. First of all, you have on the ground, you have Adi Gallia, 2/4 Force Jedi Republic. When an opponent plays an event, deal 1 damage to a player's base, which is great against control. Just absolutely great. Of course, it comes out at 2, and a 2/4 on turn 1 is pretty awesome. It really, really is. And then you have Genji, at a 2/5. Comes out on turn 1. He's a vanilla character, nothing special about him, just Force Jedi Wookiee. Alright, so right there we already have 6 potential turn 1s that are Jedi that help Kit's stat line. Then you go over, and then there's Huyang, who's a Jedi Droid. And of course, when you play him, he gives a unit +2/+2, a friendly unit. So your Adi Gallia is now a 4/6, or Genji's a 4/7, which is just utterly ridiculous. Trust me, I've been playtesting against one of my buddies who's really, really enjoyed the deck so far. He was very skeptical of Kit Fisto until he saw it work. But to continue on, you have Mas Kanata, who is like the Force user Fleet Lieutenant. You play it, and her stat's a little bit better, but you play it, +2 attack, gets to attack if it's a Force unit. So I know with the things that we're doing here, to me, it feels and has felt very similar to Sabine, except Sabine's in a Rebel package. This one is like the Jedi package. And that's really the big thing. If you're wanting to try something new, something interesting, something that hasn't been played yet, but is still similar to the Sabine playstyle that most of you probably have enjoyed over the past year and a half, this would be the reason to play Kit Fisto over Sabine. And if you don't want to make that transition or you don't want to do that transition, don't. But this deck is actually very surprising and actually very powerful. It's taking games off some of the meta decks that's currently out right now, and it's actually taken off games from decks that I have built out of the new cards that we've seen. With that being said, I will continue on with the ground forces, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Absolutely one of the best cards that's probably been spoiled this set. I absolutely love this card. It's a 3/5. When you play a Force unit, it gains Sentinel. You should have no problem gaining Sentinel in this deck at all. And the fact that he's a 3/5 is just awesome. I'm not exactly sure. It just, to me, it's better than, Village Protectors and Echo Base Defender. From there, you have Ayla Secura, and this is where our power starts to really show. If you're ECLing her, you're pretty much getting a free kill 99% of the time. Then there's Kit Fisto. I know he hasn't been used a whole lot, but with this deck, you can ECL him in as well. And he's a 7/6 with Saboteur. And if you have Coordinate, you deal 3 damage to a ground unit. So it's a open fire on a stick if you have 2 other units out. Then you have probably one of the other great cards that I've found this set that I absolutely am loving is Carolyn Beck. 7/7, 7 cost, only an uncommon, but it's basically a Ewing reinforcement with a little less power. However, you get a body that's a 7/7 with it. When played, look at the top 7 cards. Reveal a unit, and it costs 3 less. So basically, from Sabine's Masterpiece down, it's all free cards. Or if you have any remaining resources open, you get to get even more. I mean, it's insane. And Keller and Beck has come in clutch numerous times playing against me. As a matter of fact, one of the Patreons that follow us, Fuzzball, he absolutely killed it by doing a Keller and Beck, dropping an Obi-Wan, and preventing me from doing lethal, which he ended up doing by taking an initiative. It was insane and a great play. Followed up, you have Mace Windu, who is a 5/7 and has been such an underrated card from the beginning. And he's an awesome card. Ambush, if you kill a unit, and he survives, you ready him. So, like most of you should know by now, since Spark, he comes in, deals 5 damage to something, readies up, deals 5 damage to the base. Or that's the goal. Or you can just have him just pick off a mountain of small units and your opponent's board state is gone. But if you couldn't tell, for the Jedi trait, you have Adiglia, Genji, Hayang, Obi-Wan, Ayla, Kit, Mace, and Kelleran just on the ground. Not only that, in the sky, you actually have Anakin's Interceptor, which is actually a Jedi as well as Jedi Vector, which is not a great card, but it's a turn 1 that you desperately need, and I'm hoping something better comes out for it, but if not, that's what we got. Another card is Kit Fisto's Aether Sprite, that's a Jedi. I'll get into the ships. I just wanted to show you that there's plenty there for Kit Fisto to get powered up on. So there should be no problem or no reason why you're not swinging as a 3/6, 4/6, something like that when you flip him. I mean, the base start line is not great, but in most of your matchups, unless you're playing a very tough mid-range match, which is bouncing your stuff, or the things that are killing units left and right, which are decks that a lot of decks are going to struggle with. So Kit's weakness is the same thing as several other meta tiered decks. So let's look at the sky, and you have Anakin's Interceptor. We all know 2/3. When your base has 15 damage or more on it, it gets +2 attack, so it's actually a 4/3. Great one drop or turn 1, and then also a really good late game. The other card I've already mentioned is Jedi Vector. It's not great. It's a 1/3 starting off, but if you control another Jedi, which you should, it gets a +1, and if you control a lightsaber, it gets an additional +1. So you potentially have a 3/3, which is, definitely where you want to be. The next one is not a Jedi. However, it's very useful. It's supporting ETA 2. It's a 2/2, but on attack you get to give a ground unit +2 attack, which is a great trigger. It's way to sneak in extra damage against your opponent. I mean, who doesn't want an extra free pump on damage? You don't have to spend any resources, nothing. It's just a trigger. The next one is Sabine's Masterpiece. This is such a good card. 3/3. You're only going to be worried about the abilities it does for the green and red, unless you steal something with Traitorous. Which green, you give an experience token to a unit, and the red, you deal a damage to a base or unit. I mean, it's everything that red wants, and green. Pumps, damage. Can't go wrong with it. In the early testings, we were getting run over pretty hard in the sky. It may have changed now that we moved supporting ETA and Sabine's Masterpiece in, but just for good measures, we did add in Bright Hope, which 2/6 Sentinel, when played, you can bounce a ground unit, draw a card for a 4 cost. It's been a staple for green decks since Spark, and I expect it to remain a staple until rotation. The last card I'm going to mention is the Kit Fisto's Aether Sprite. 4/5. It is a Jedi with Saboteur, and when played, you may defeat any number of upgrades on a unit. This includes experience tokens, shield, pilots, which that's all Kaz needed, was another thing to keep him from going crazy. But it also works on your opponent's defensive upgrades as well, like Perilous Position, Entrench, stuff like that. The next thing I'm going to go to is the events. They're all pretty standard. None of them are new cards from the new set. You have Daring Raid, which kind of pushes a little extra damage on your opponents and helps Kit Fisto's ability of hitting something. Force Throw, standard cards and Spark. With all the force units, there's no reason why you don't want to get in a little extra damage on your opponents and some hand disruption. And then you have Timely Intervention, which is the Smuggle card from Shadows, which helps with units like Ayla and Keller and Beck and Kit Fisto. ECL unfortunately does not affect Keller and Beck, so if you have 8 resources in this in hand, it's a great way to just really tear up your opponent. Trust me, it was done to me just the other night. The last one is a pretty standard one for most green decks, especially non-control ones, is U-Ring Reinforcements. I mean, search 10 cards, grab up to 3 units with a combined cost of 7, drop them on the field. Considering most of the units here are very low cost, you should have no problem grabbing multiple units for your turn. The last thing is 2 things that were added, which I find hilarious, is General's Blade. Not many people use it. I believe I've only seen it in some Sabine decks, but most of them are still choosing Dark Saber last time I checked. But General's Blade is attached the unit to a Jedi. It gains on attack. The next unit you play this phase costs 2 less. I'll be honest with you, I don't know why Sabine would want this. I can't think of any Jedi that's in Sabine, but for some reason, a few of them did pop up. Not exactly sure why. But for this deck, it is absolutely 100% wanted and loved. I don't know how many times I have been facing Fuzzball, where he drops Adigalia or Genji, and the next turn is a General's Blade. And it's simply because I don't have the damage to kill those units quick enough before he drops an additional 3/3 buff on them. And it's such a huge swing of power in the game where your turn 2 is a General's Blade. They attack for 5 damage, and then they turn around and drop, an Obi-Wan or I mean, not an Obi-Wan, but, another supporting ETA or the other one that they didn't play. Like, they played Genji, next they drop a Adiglia. It's crazy. And in fact, their very next turn, it's been great. They throw out a Kit Fisto. And I'm just looking at them like, what am I supposed to do against this? Like, it's insane just how quickly that propels you ahead. And the next thing was Traitorous, which, again, when you're playing this deck and you're trying to build up a defense, you try to throw out stuff like Echo-Based Defender, Village Protectors. I mean, heck, even a ship with Chewbacca on it. Traitorous, have a good day. Thank you for your addition to the cause. I can't, like I said, I can't tell you how many times I've been playing Fuzzball recently with him testing this deck, and it's just been standing up like crazy to some of the decks that I felt like it should lose to. It's been super fun, super great. And honestly, this is the deck so far that we've come up with. I'm sure by the end of spoiler season, the deck may look a little different. And as you can tell, there's over here in the sideboard, we were touring around with like Home 1 for some recursion, and then Luminous Beings, kind of the same thing, except there's a lot of force units to get the buff off of it. But, I mean, test out the deck, see what you guys think, let me know. But right now, this is probably one of the most fun decks that we have currently being toyed with. I have a few others, but that is all I have for you guys. For my patrons, thank you guys for following us. I appreciate all the support that you guys have given us over the last year, and I hope to continue that. For everyone new that ends up following and subscribing, thank you and welcome to the community. I hope you guys come and join the Discord and have a good time. With that, I hope to see you guys at Galactics, and take care.